The learner has become a more active participant in the learning process over the last 10 years, starting from being collaborative in the classroom to using e-learning applications that are more engaging, like serious games, to where we are just at the cusp today, to the learner really taking control of his learning and being somewhat autonomous in the learning process. Then we started seeing the real emergence of e-learning. E-learning took on a life of its own. We started seeing simulation. We started seeing serious games, multi-user types of learning experiences, user-guided simulation. And that's pretty much sort of what we see today being done by most enterprises, those types of more advanced learning systems. But we already see on the horizon where it's going tomorrow. We're seeing the introduction of social learning as enterprises like Saint-Gobain introduce collaborative platforms to facilitate exchanges, to facilitate conversation within the company. Those types of tools are playing an important role in the learning process. And becoming the trend in the future is the learner really taking control. We want to learn something on the weekend. What do? We're trying to fix a bicycle and we can't figure out how to do something. We go inside or we open up our mobile device and we go to Google or we go to YouTube and we find the answer to our question. We phrase the question and the answer, and somebody has already responded to it on Google or on YouTube. And that's how we're learning. It's this continuous learning. The younger generation today doesn't need to memorize as much as the older generation needed to do. What they need to know is how to find it quickly when they need it. But there's barely a question that I can think of when I go to the internet where I can't find the answer like that. I'll tell you an anecdote. The other day my daughter was doing some homework on physics, and she couldn't find the answer in her book, and the book was not explaining it very, very clearly. I went out to YouTube, I typed the question, and I found an 8-minute video produced by a professor from a Midwestern university in the United States in his office. It wasn't done very professionally. He was just using the webcam. When he wanted to show a formula, he wrote it on a piece of paper and held it up to the camera. But in 8 minutes, my daughter had the answer to what she needed and was able to get on with her homework. I see two evolutions on the technology side, on the distance learning. One is much higher quality desktop to desktop video conferencing. Today, with the typical quality that people have inside the enterprise, where we tend to have less bandwidth than we have at home, the quality of the video and the experience of the types of web conferences we do is just not good enough. However, when you see what they're able to do with the telepresence solutions today, it completely transforms the experience. We're going to see those costs come down, and we're going to see that starting to become the norm in, let's say, 3 or 4 years time frame. And the vision that I'm putting forth in my company is that I expect that every employee in the company should be spending 15 minutes a week on learning. We already do it in our factories. We expect every operator to spend 1 hour per month doing e-learning, bringing them up to speed on new developments within the factory. We should be expecting the same thing of every employee. But if we expect it at 15-minute intervals every week, that has a lot of implications. One, it says that it's become a real behavior within the individual to every week ask themselves, what have I learned this week? Number two, it means that we, in terms of content provision, can no longer be providing 1 hour long modules about finance. It's got to be small and easily consumable. Three, it's got to respond to the career development aspirations of the individual and not just the information that we at the corporate level want to push out to people. It's got to respond to their needs. So that says that not only will I be creating small modules, but increasingly I will be turning to the outside and buying those modules. Today, companies think too much that they need to be creating their own specific e-learning when there's very, very good e-learning that exists out in the marketplace. The 30-year career with one company is a thing of the past. People will be changing companies every couple of years. And the young people are told they have to continually reinvent themselves, continually find new ways of bringing value to their company and educating themselves. And they'll be doing that through all of this content that will be, some will be created by professional providers, but a lot of it, the long tail, will be created by people like, me and others. Clearly, this is going to change how companies provide learning to their employees. One, the quality of learning that they make available to their employees will become a criteria for recruits choosing one company over another. And so the quality of our learning offering is something that we have to look at from a recruiting perspective. And the role of a learning professional like myself will then become one of curation. That's the process of going out and finding the best from the web and bringing it together onto a single page within our learning platform that helps respond to a particular need. The Chief Learning Officer needs to have this vision of how learning will be, of how learning is meeting the needs of the enterprise and meeting the needs of the employee. Learning is a tool for the organization, like communication, like IT. We have objectives. For example, we want to become more innovative. Well, how can learning help us do that? And that's the role of the Chief Learning Officer, to say, how does learning in all of its varieties contribute to that?